उनको बिठा दें. Okay, may I request for a group photograph first for the dignitaries? Thank you. So we start with the session. Good evening, distinguished guests, esteemed panelists, and participants. On behalf of FICCI, it's my privilege to warmly welcome you to this important session, From Policy to Harvest, Leveraging Generative AI for Data-Driven Agriculture Transformation, being organized as part of the AI Summit 2026. Indian agriculture stands at a pivotal juncture as we work towards enhancing farmer incomes, strengthening climate resilience, and ensuring food and nutritional security for a growing population. The emphasis must increasingly move beyond policy intent to implementation excellence and measurable impact on the ground. In this transformation journey, digital innovation, particularly generative AI, offers unprecedented possibilities. From precision farming and predictive crop analytics to climate risk modeling, personalized advisories, and smarter supply chains, AI has the potential to reshape agriculture into a more data driven, efficient, and farmer centric ecosystem. The key question before us today is how we can responsibly and effectively integrate these technologies within India's evolving digital agriculture architecture to create scalable and inclusive outcomes. We are deeply honored to have with us Shri Sanjay Kumar Agarwal, Joint Secretary, Department of Agriculture and Farmer Welfare, Government of India, whose guidance and leadership have significantly contributed to advancing digital reforms and innovation in the agriculture sector. We are also privileged to be joined by an eminent panel representing government, global institution, industry, technology, and agri-entrepreneurship. Mr. Simon Thorson Vibush, Chairman FICCI Committee on Crop Protection and CEO Bayer Crop Science Limited and Country Divisional Head Crop Science Division of Bayer for India, Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Ms. Elizabeth Ford, Representative and Country Director, World Food Programme India. Dr. Alok B. Mukherjee, Director, Research Analytics and Modeling, Leads Connect Service Private Limited, and Chief System Scientist, AI Programs, BL Agro Industries Limited. Mr. Anand Chandra, Co-Founder Executive Director, Arya EG. Mr. Maulik Bansali, Chief Executive Officer, NetWeb Software. To steer this important dialogue, we have with us Mr. Mendra Mathur, Chairman FICCI Task Force on Agri Startups and Venture Partner Bharat Innovation Fund, who will be moderating the session. With these words, I once again extend a warm welcome to all the distinguished speakers and participants, and I now request Shri Sanjay Kumar Agarwal to kindly deliver the special address. Thereafter, Mr. Mendra Mathur will take the discussion forward. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank FICCI for organizing this seminar for discussing a very important topic, agriculture and AI. When we are thinking AI, how can we forget agriculture transformation through AI? Earlier, whenever we used to think about agriculture, the image in our mind comes with a poor farmer using the old technology, using the hull and bale, but now things are changing. Now we have educated farmers, we have progressive farmers, and farmers who are using technology as an essential tools for agriculture. And AI is moving towards agriculture sector. Today, Government of India has launched Bharat Vistar, a AI-driven model to enrich every farmer, to reach every farmer. Because without farmers, if technologies are not reaching to the farmer, it is very difficult to increase the production. It is very difficult to increase the quality. There are many challenges before the agriculture sector. And low use of technology is major challenge before all of us. Farmers are not getting good market. Farmers are not getting good prices. Farmers don't know what is the market demand. Farmers have any very few knowledge where their demand can get, their produce can get better prices. They don't know the right advisory. They don't know from where the seed will come and where they can sell the produce. There are many questions which are remains unanswered, and because of that farmers are compelled to sell their products at lower prices. They grow what is not needed in the market, and ultimately farmers become a matter of concern for everyone. Now young farmers are coming. The youth role in farmer, the young farmers are coming, they are coming with a vision to enrich farming. They are trying, they are using many technology. They are not satisfied what their father used to grow. They want something new. And their technology is making lots of changes. Earlier they wanted advisory, it was difficult to get advisory. Now every mobile is having some chatbot and they are getting advisory. Earlier farmers used to have some grievances where they should go. Now at the click they can lodge their complaint and they can get the answers. And today what our Bharat Vistar chatbot Bharti is going to solve many such problems. And we are going to use in different languages. Language was a major barrier for all of us. Our farmers, they don't understand, many farmers, they don't understand Hindi also. They want to chat in local dialogue, local dialect. And our chatbot is being used for different languages. And later on we are going to use all the languages of our country. Farmers' need is, second is, they want weather advisories. Weather is uncertain and again a major challenge for our farmers. Now all types of weather advisories, weather forecast are easily available and accessible. They are more accurate than earlier because of many AI technologies are being used. The market prices. Earlier what is market prices, it was difficult to know. Now all the mandis, all the markets are integrated with one system. You want market price of Bareilly, you want market price of Chennai. At a click you can know. Transportation was a major issue. Now transportation is there. Agriculture mechanization. Again a challenge before all of us that our farmers are using very less technology and mechanization. Now young farmers and the progressive farmers are using it extensively. And with use of AI, they are doing irrigation, they are doing use of fertilizer, they are taking use of pesticides, and all based on AI. Now storage, cold storage, warehousing, these were also problem areas for us. Now with the help of various private partners, credit, warehousing, logistic is also made accessible to farmers. Now any farmer wants that he wants to store his food grain. Earlier he used to sell at throwaway prices. Now he can take decision that I am not going to sell it right now. I will keep it, but I need some money. So now financing is also available through technology. So it's a complete ecosystem is coming, and that ecosystem is working in such a way that ultimately farmer will benefit and the consumer will also benefit. Now we have a challenge that our farmers are aging. The average age of farmer is more than 50 years. Young students who wants to become to do some career, they don't want to come in agriculture sector. Through AI, through technology, we can bring those talent to in agriculture sector also. Because unless they will come, the more progressive farming, more remunerative farming, more export oriented farming, more diversified farming will not be possible. We want to diversify our sectors. We want to come out from paddy and wheat culture. Many things we are importing. We want to be self-sufficient. We don't know where is the deficit and where the production is. Now, through various decision supporting system in agriculture ministry, Agri-Stake, we are doing digital crop survey, and all these data are coming Agri-Course. And in future, this Agri-Course will provide data to everyone. We have a great database, and we are accumulating that database, and we are creating that database for better use of AI. Now many AI tools are giving advisories, but they don't have sufficient data to support that advisory, to validate that advisory. Now in agriculture sector, we will not have dearth of data in future. Through PM Kisan scheme, we are giving at least around 10 crores of farmer every month some pension, some incentive. And that data is coming into our system. If any farmer is having any problem, they can go to chatbot and they can ask any question, and AI is answering their problems. Why my installment has not come, why my payment is delayed. So just I want to summarize that agriculture sector is not very far from AI. And if you want to develop this sector more, we have to use AI extensively, and various private partners are helping in this regard. We alone can't work, and we need support from all the private stakeholders who are working in this sector. And I hope together we will achieve the aim to make agriculture more vibrant. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Sanjay ji, for a very insightful address. Good evening, everyone. I know it's the last session of the day, but we'll try to make it interesting. Good to see a full house, and especially a lot of young minds sitting in the room. So very, very delighted to be part of this gathering. Thanks, Vicky, for organizing this wonderful session. And the topic that we have today, how AI can transform agriculture sector. And I'm really blessed to have a fantastic set of panelists with representation from policymakers and industry, software providers, and bunch of startups. So I think it's going to be very interesting. So before I get into question and answer, just a couple of minutes to set the context for the panel. As I always said, agriculture is heaven for data scientists, not just because it is a large part of our agri and food economy, but also because of the gigabytes and terabytes of data that we generate almost every second from 160 million hectares of farmland and 150 million farms, 14 agroclimatic zones, different types of soil, 7,000 mandis, and you can go on and on. So I think we are sitting on a repository of data which is quite spectacular. And I don't think any of the big AI giants have really scrapped it. You know, they've scrapped whatever is available on the web. But what about the data which is lying in our universities, in our weather stations, and things like that? And that's where it becomes far more interesting. And the volatility of the data and the variability of data, it can hurt ego of the best of the data scientists. You know, in terms of how to model such various data points, how to triangulate it, and how to make sense out of it. But yeah, we all believe that it has a huge power. AI has a huge power to solve for challenges that we see in the country in terms of especially farmers' access to markets, price, soil testing, pest detection, buyer discovery and all that. So that's where I think we're going to discuss some of those opportunities that are there on the hand, and how do we scale some of these use cases, and how industry and policymakers can play a very critical role in enabling use of AI to solve for challenges that we see in the country. So with that context, I'll start the discussion. Probably Elizabeth, if I can start with you, that's okay. Okay. So Elizabeth represents World Food Program that we all are aware of. Elizabeth, I would like you to talk about how AI can help, especially in the post-harvest value chain. I'm sure most of the audience will be aware that we waste almost 1/3 of the food that we produce, both in volume and value terms, and that needs a lot of attention. And that's where we need technology. So Elizabeth, if you can share your thoughts on how do we use AI to drive food security, to drive nutritional security at scale?
Thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are.
Good. Well, thank you, Vicky, for organizing this dialogue. Let me, first of all, I want to just situate this in a broader context. At the World Food Programme, we are particularly concerned about the food crises that are currently happening around the world. When we think about AI and technology, we're thinking very much about how can we use these technologies to address global hunger. And I just wanted to share a few overarching figures with you because it's quite staggering, and I think it's important for our awareness. Global hunger is at an unprecedented level globally. 318 million people are facing crisis level hunger, and it's really very much concentrated in a handful of countries where we see particular acute need. For example, in Gaza, in parts of Sudan, Afghanistan, Yemen, Haiti, the Sahel, the Horn of Africa. And at the World Food Programme, we have launched a new AI strategy. We're the first UN agency to have done that so far. And it's very much around how do we use data for predicting crises, for analyzing also when a disaster hits, where are the hungry poor, what kind of situation they find themselves in. So very much around early warning systems, but also for targeting programs and finding data to make the right decisions at the right time. That's at the global level. And just to highlight a couple of tools that we have, one is called Hunger Map Live, and it's very much, it's based on satellite data. You can see where people are facing food and nutrition insecurity around the world in practically real time, and that enables us and partners and governments to be able to address that. I haven't answered your point about post-harvest losses. In India, the cornerstone of WFP's partnership with the government of India is very much around strengthening the food systems, the big public distribution system that is the largest safety net in the world, food safety net in the world. And of course, so much grain is moved every single day as part of this public distribution system. And World Food Programme has worked on streamlining these supply chains, for example, through route optimization, optimizing the routes that go from the farmers to the warehouses to the 600,000 plus fair price shops, so that people can get their entitlements. Also, smart warehouse solutions with sensors to reduce the post-harvest losses within warehouses at all the different levels. And I just launched an exhibition just now where we were showcasing these solutions. One is, for example, very new one is a robot, an autonomous mobile robot that circulates around the warehouses, and that can provide alerts when the spoilage is happening or where there might be other pests, rodents, and so on and so forth. So we're trying to work very much with the government to bring these technologies and these innovations to improve the quality, I would say, of the of the food, but the quality of these safety nets that is designed for the most vulnerable people, which is really the lens through which the World Food Programme is viewing all of this, may be quite different from some of the other panelists here.
That's great. I think WFP coming up with proprietary AI tools and taking a lead on it is very enlightening to learn about. With that, coming you to Simon. Simon is a veteran from the crop protection industry. He knows India probably than more Indians know. So Simon, the question to you, of course, I think agri inputs is a large industry, and the multiple possible use cases of how AI can be used, especially developing new molecules and R&D, and of course farmer advisory. I think Sanjay ji also talked about that. So can you throw some light on how we can use technology, AI, to drive some of these innovation on the agri input side?
Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. Thank you, Hemant. And Sanjay ji, I really appreciate what you said in terms of saying government and private need to work together here, because going back to how, Hemant, you opened up, the complexity of Indian agriculture actually has been waiting for something like AI. And when you look at the atomization of land ownership, the smallholder farmers that we have in the country, we have struggled for decades to try to really help them to advance, because often we wouldn't understand their own fields. The interaction points were not often enough. Let me try to give you a very concrete example and move a little bit away from just making better chemicals, right? But imagine all of us, right? We go to UP. In our minds, we go to UP and think of a FPO that has, give it 200 farmers, 200 hectares of direct seeded rice, right? Now, imagine we've been watching these fields with satellites. We know more or less what was temperatures over the last couple of months since growing season. We've been looking at moisture in the fields, and we actually have this FBO together with a Better Life Farming Center, a buyer, which has, let's call them 5 or 6 drone DDs, a government program, right? Where in the mornings they would fly drones just for surveillance reasons and look at those 200 plots and identifying each individual plot, whether it needs fertilization, whether because of the weather data we're trying to, we could already see there's risk of diseases coming in, potentially pest migration being seen, and then you start applying what needs to be applied. You apply fertilizer where the field might need some fertilizer. You apply pesticides where you need maybe just in the vicinities and not on every single field, because you can predict that if you kill the pests on the sides, they're not going to go to the other fields. Each individual farmer on their apps, on the Farmrise app, will know what is the interventions which are happening in their fields and can potentially also say whether they want it or not, right? A trace is built on what exactly happened on that field for this batch of rice. And then you have somebody like, I don't know whether in the room, Fortune, buying that rice off of the FPO and exporting that rice to a UK supermarket, where this UK supermarket knows exactly what has happened to this rice. Now, this rice has been grown with low water input. It's not paddy, it's direct seeded. It has not emitted as much methane, and the farmer will probably get a better price because it goes into export and there is a trail of evidence that this is sustainably grown rice. Now, if we get things right, you even have the cherry on the cake, and the government will have a carbon trading system in place where he gets carbon credits for growing that rice. All that is only possible for 200 fields with AI. Now imagine this around the country on maybe 20 million hectares, right? I mean, this is probably the biggest of wishes one could have, but only AI makes something like that thinkable.
Fantastic. No, thanks for sharing that example. That's very inspiring. I hope it percolates to different parts of the country, and you get few million hectares under this kind of surveillance. Yeah. So that's represents 2 organizations, BL Agro, which is a large agri-business, and Leads Connect, which is a startup within BL Agro. and has done phenomenal work on developing some interesting tech tools. Look, the big question is, of course, AI is great and it's doing a lot of good for everyone. The big question is AI making money? You know, what are the use cases where you see an ROI coming, especially for someone like you, who's already using it at scale?
Good evening. I hope I'm audible. Namaste and good evening, everyone. This is Alok Mukherjee. And firstly, thank you so much, Vicky, for giving this opportunity to share our thoughts on this very important topic. Yes, sir. My answer would be yes, with some challenges. But before I go into the details, I would like to share our experience in this regard. We have been working on agriculture. We are an analytics organization with core focus on agriculture and climate extensions. So when we started this journey, so I just want to give a kind of some pointers, and then with this curve, we will understand that what is the reach and what kind of developments happened actually in the context of application of AI in agriculture, and the business aspects also, and the interventions also. When we started, we worked with governments also, the private sectors also, foundations also. We have been working. Currently, we started with one district, currently standing at 155 districts across India for different things. When we started with the yield dynamics, yield modeling project and all. And then in this regard, when we're talking about ROI and all, in this journey, we saw and delivered, and we got opportunity, the market, the entire ecosystem opened up, and especially in last 5-6 years, we have seen this it's kind of a huge transition. So what happened? Today, we see the AI, the use of application of AI, kind of in the smart irrigations, the precision farming, the dynamics. We see the application of AI and the solutions development driven by AI on the forecast dynamics in the context of productivity dynamics, the crop mapping. And one more thing, in the opening remarks, sir mentioned one very important thing, that like the farmers, the way they were cultivating. Now it means a kind of a change is required and all. Now we see, and we have been working with the value chain, because we come from the entire value chain, 360-degree implementation of value chain. So now we see a huge implementation of AI in the dimension of, in the context of value chain dynamics, identifying new value chains. Recently, I would like to share that we did one kind of pilot study in Uttar Pradesh only. And there we implemented this, our proprietary algorithms and frameworks to understand that the current cultivation pattern, if it can be changed, and at least 20 to 30% other crop can come into the picture. So it just doesn't increase the income of farmers, plus it takes care of the ecological dynamics also. So if you see, now AI, where does AI stand in the context of agricultural dynamics? So it is in the precision farming, it is in the productivity dynamics, not just post-harvest, it's a pre-harvest analysis, entire the value chain spectrum, and the market linkage and the price forecasting side also. So the entire dimension is now opened up through this one. And one more very important thing, that since these options are coming, and one more thing in the context of this one, why this is encouraging. Now, if I have some kind of chatbots, okay, fine, we'll keep building, we'll make our advisory engines more robust and all, more parameters, more stacks will come into the picture. But what happens? Now we are lesser dependent on a very kind of a asset-heavy infrastructures. And plus, then we see one, I would like to share one use case. I will not go into the details, I will not take much time. We are working with some of the FPOs in Haryana. There we were supposed to take care of the soil dynamics also in the context of yield forecast. And there is a huge demand of soil sensors. Now I want to give one example. For one district, if I have to go with 100 sensors, instead of that, if I have some kind of proprietary algorithms or frameworks, AI driven, if it can help us to reduce this number of 100 to like 10, 20 and this one, then cascading analytics can be taken into the picture. It helps both sides for scaling also, in the context of finance also, the costing requirement and the fast deployment of this one. So sir, my answer would be yes, that the situation has been very encouraging, because day by day we have witnessed that the use cases are increasing, and the penetration of AI right now, it's no more kind of alien thing on the ground also, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, thanks for that positive remark. Anand, coming to you, I don't know, I'm sure a lot of people will know Arya is one of the largest aggregator of grains in the country. They only talk in millions of tons now. So Anand, coming to you, especially for a startup, of course, when agri-tech started, I think the focus was more on digital and AI, what didn't exist. And now it has become more and more mainstream. So how do you see how startups can use it, can create value, especially the kind of work you do for providing credit, for example, for doing quality assaying, for providing storage in the post-harvest value chain?
No, so hi, good evening, everyone. Hemant, I'll just correct you. AI word still existed in agriculture. It was called as artificial insemination.
I was about to say that.
So that's the first time when I heard, doing my BSc in agriculture, I heard about AI. So which was like 25 years ago. Coming to the topic, Hemant, I think as a country, we always get excited when new technology comes in. I remember 3 years ago, we were focusing more on blockchain, and we thought blockchain is the panacea for all our problems. And hope is not a bad strategy, but it should not be the only strategy that AI is going to solve all our problems. We should be excited about it, but before anything happens, the structural issues, or I would say the perception agriculture which we are dealing with, needs to be sorted out. That data which we talk about, I have two datas in front of me and both are contradictory to what is there. Global Hunger Index rates us 102 among the 123 countries which participates in that. But the day India put a ban on export, all the WTO members were crying, please send wheat, please send wheat. How come, a country where people are starving, people are requesting to export? And they were crying. So first, data at the perception level has to align with what this country is capable of, number one, at a global level. Number two, at the policy level, we always been 22 years in the industry, we always talk about private-public partnership. There has to be an alignment on that front. Still, the efforts are there, but it gets diluted by the time it reaches to the end. The third and the more important point is, while we talk about agriculture, we should not always restrict it to farmers. That's what I see most of the forums. The discussion should not be only on the farmers. There are other participants who are equally important to run the supply chain and show. The discussions I enter always gets concentrated on the farmer, which is important. The fourth important structural issue, which I always keep on, as a feedback to government, sir, is the welfare and the business should be separated. That is the structural issues once sorted out. Trust me, technologies are enough available to solve most of the problems we have. Otherwise, data, Hemant, as you asked me, people, AI, end of the day, who will pay for it? See, a farmer has to pay you for the data. If the cost of AI is so high, who will pay? End of the day, it will come back to the government and come back to us through taxes. It's a vicious cycle. Yeah. So, while we evaluate any technology, we should start with a hope, but we should also start with a caution as to the value it will generate, which will make the consumer or the farmer or the users of those or the people using it pay for it. What value added? And in the country, till in last 22 years, I have not seen people paying you for data. Everybody wants data. But when it comes to taking out money from your wallet, we will see, we'll come back. And then those data which get used are those islands of excellence in certain pockets, say one person here, one FPO there, two FPO there. If something is very critical, like the UPI infrastructure which government has created, look at its acceptance, because it had a use case, and it had, like a grocery store, a rickshawala, everybody found utility in it and got adopted. So something like that is what is needed in agri.
Thanks. Thanks for bringing some very difficult points. But it's important to have a contradictory point of view, and Though I've also sat on forums and I've got beaten for it when I say don't build AI for the farmers, build for the layer which can be trusted by the farmers, you know. So, and that's where the value chain becomes more and more important. Agriculture to me is a case of embedded AI rather than a farmer-centric AI. You can embed AI in so many ways and across the value chain. So with that, coming to you, Maulik, and sorry for keep you waiting. I've taken the liberty of proximity. The question to you is, how do we make the question which Anand raised, you know, who's going to pay for it, you know? And frankly, AI needs a lot of investments. We're seeing venture capital putting billions of dollars. Every $30 billion deal looks like just another deal in AI. So how do we, you know, make it more and more affordable? Where does public platforms comes into picture? Where DPIs comes into picture? Where data sharing comes into picture? And you know, as that point is also being raised, you know, how do you make authentic data sets available so that AI tools become far and more robust to be used by farmers or anyone in the value chain?
Too many questions, right? And fantastic, you know, views from our friends here. So thank you for having me. If you look at two different data sets, again talking about data, right? One is what's the workforce that's in farming, in agriculture, in the country, close to 45-48%, right? On the other hand, if you look at the contribution to the GDP, right, which is much less than 20%, less than 1/5 of the GDP, there is a huge gap out there. So what it means, honestly, in my understanding, that putting technology on the side, being a technologist, but thinking the context of it, right? There is a huge gap to be really filled. I mean, we're looking about productivity, which is much less. That's what it means. Per person, per farmer, productivity, how much it is. I think it tells some story about that. So I think there is some gap to really work on. And it's a transformational need out there, in my honest opinion. And can AI help there? Yes, it can. But we need to look at from the context in terms of what and how. Right? And the point of making it affordable is very, very essential. All the large language models that we've been talking, very cost heavy, resource hungry. We all know it, right? Can they help? Of course they can help. What we need is more focused, more solution, more sector driven, more task driven, smaller models. And I'm sure someone like friends like Alok can possibly second to that. And Anand, you can also possibly can relate to that. So I think we need something which is very focused, smaller, not giant GPT-like kind of a heavy model to look at. That's one. Second, we need something which is more focused on various different data sets. Possibly there are various different things that you solve, and Simon talked about pest detection and disease, for example. How do you solve that? We talked about value chain. We talked about logistics. Yeah. In every which way, if you think about, it's a model in its own way, and different problems therefore to be solving using that model. So there is no one single LLM possibly that can really solve it. And if it does, it's too cost heavy, too resource hungry, right? But what we need is more focused approach out here. That's one. Second, I think it's equally important to understand how are we really building that infrastructure, right? In terms of solving that problem, right? I think public-private partnership is very essential. We heard about that. There are initiatives which I know, I do not know how much far it has gone ahead, is in terms of how about the agriculture producer organizations or cooperative societies possibly buying a pool of resources, cloud credits, for example, and giving out to the farmers and to the users. And I think government possibly also can intervene there in terms of giving out such credits to the farmers as well. And to the point that Anand made, UPI, it has done wonderful, impact. It has made a wonderful impact, right? Data is essential but access of data and making that available at large, democratization, that is even more essential. So first is, of course, to bring the data together, right? The data sets, right? That's the first thing. I don't even worry about compute right now. Honestly, I don't. I would not. Not that it is not important, but data is even more important to be able to then kind of extract necessary data points from it, and then of course work on how we are able to really make it accessible, affordable, right? So for example, we just heard about Bharat Vistar, right? It's an amazing AI tool which kind of shares the resources. Can we do that for other data sets as well? Can we do that for other parameters as well? Right? I think that brings down the cost of access. Of course, it also democratizes. Furthermore, it will be more accessible by startups, like in case of UPI that we've been seeing, to be able to then integrate within their solutions, within their applications, to come up with some wonderful solutions. So these are few ideas possibly that we should possibly look at and work on. And I think more than just solving one problem, I think if we do that, it's not just about scaling and helping AI scale. Honestly, it is actually nation building, if you think about it.
Absolutely. I think frugal engineering is critical, and this sector is known for frugality. I think the startups I know who've done the best are the ones who are the most frugal in terms of spending and figuring out where does capital need to be deployed. And I think the point you made around data infrastructure, shared infrastructure, I think that's extremely critical for these AI tools to be more affordable. With that, Elizabeth, I'll come to you. I think clearly for a sector like agriculture, policy is at the core of it. If you have to scale anything, I always say capital is a multiplier, but policy is a bigger multiplier, especially in sector like agriculture. So how does policy enable adoption of technology? You have Sanjay ji sitting next to you. If you can make some recommendation, how government should be looking at it.
Thank you very much. So let me share that one of the groups that at the World Food Programme we've worked with closely, and where there's really extra support required is with women farmers. There are so many excellent government schemes that seek to support women farmers, but we do see when we speak to them that often they are feeling a bit left out. Sometimes the status of women farmers is much lower than men. They tend to, they can be seen as not necessarily as farmers in their own right, but as doing work that is an extension of housework. That's something that, that we've noticed through our work at the grassroots. They often need a special support to access certain schemes and training and financial products and loans and credit and so on. The reason I'm mentioning this is because perhaps some of the colleagues in the panel would have ideas on how we might join forces. We've talked about public-private partnerships, bringing AI and technology solutions to support these groups would be excellent. So one of the things that we've worked on with the government is to set up climate adaptation information centers, for example, some chatbots and apps that can provide advice on whether it's climate smart approaches or plant clinics, very practical things like that, where we're trying to bring technology to that level. And I would say that what the gentleman said about small models and testing small models, I see an application there in terms of partnering at the field level, where we could be very happy to look at things like that. Thank you.
Thanks, no, wonderful, and thanks for bringing the gender lens. I think that's extremely critical. Not many of us realize, whenever think of a farmer, it's a picture of man which comes into mind, but go to villages, I think the number of women which is employed in agriculture is large and growing, especially horticulture and animal husbandry. So totally with you, Elizabeth, on this. Simon, coming back to you, I think you gave a very good example of that FPO. Now, I think one of the challenges that we see with a lot of advisory and a lot of solutions is that it is not contextualized or curated plot by plot. It's more generic. First of all, is there a need for it, or and if yes, can AI play a role out there to make it very farm specific? Probably what AgriStack also intends to do whenever it gets open sourced.
Yeah, it's a very fair question. It's a touchy question, right? I mean, obviously, when I look at FPOs, and be it also women FPOs, I look at the opportunity for collectivization, which means decision making is done more in cohesion, right? What I was trying to get at is, obviously, if you start using drones, ideally all farmers will let those drones fly over their fields and take pictures and also give recommendations, right? I think we are not at a point yet where we can say the farmer has no intervention right. Right? It just doesn't feel right in the country yet. So I would say it needs to be a recommendation, which might be because the FPO puts pressure on and says, hey, we are only going to do DSR. Yeah, so either you are a DSR farmer or not. But I think we need to find a middle way in this country always, right? What is important to me, though, is also when we're talking smaller models and stuff, is the topic of AgriStack, right? There is a need for public infrastructure on data, right? Because if everybody generates their own data, and especially with advice we see it today, one model says A, the other says B, it's completely contradictory. It's a bit like the guy from Bayer and the guy from Syngenta goes there and recommend different products, right? That's something we need to overcome, and I do believe in a longer run, you're going to be sitting here as a government and say, we don't necessarily want people to do certain interventions on their own. Yeah? We will come to a point where what I call the pesticide is taken out of the hand of the farmer and it is applied by a machine which is controlled, where it's very, very clear that there is a trail of evidence why it needs to be done. Yeah? So it will be at points where I do believe the intervention will become universal and the farmer will not take the decision any longer.
Thank you. Thanks, Simon. With that, coming to you, Alok, and Anand, maybe you can also comment on it. I think one of the challenges that we are seeing is climate and the kind of rains we saw last monsoon. It's not just the intensity of rain, it's the distribution of rains. The heat wave that we have seen this year, we are already one of the hottest summer for Delhi in the last 5 years. And as some of you will know, 1 degree increase in temperature is 5 millions of wheat getting lost, right? So that kind of impact. So how do we tackle this whole climate change issue? How do we make supply chains more climate resilient using some of these technology tools? If you can comment on that.
So I have this to say on this particular question. And before I go into this one, I just want to take a liberty just to share one thing. I've been hearing this one, like when we are talking about LLM, SLMs and all, so it's like data centers and the huge requirements and all. So if we change the requirement from the data driven to context driven, the day we orient this one, the moment we go into this picture, just I want to give one example that when we build things like this one, suppose one vegetation indices or something, where just a raw example. If we fix that at particular stage, this index gives this kind of idea about the agriculture plus a kind of indicative analysis for soil, then what happens? Suppose hypothetically I have 5 parameters, the maximum combination is 120, I can reduce it to 30. So what happens? Data points decrease. So these kind of dynamics need to be taken care of. So it requires the shift from data driven to context driven analysis. Now coming back to this question, sir, very important. Now, but we need to understand that when the climate thing is coming to the picture, the story cannot be confined to the farmland. The ecosystem dynamics should come into the picture. Ecosystem dynamics means the entire idea is the land system aberrations. What we see is the consequence and all. So it means if we are even aiming or targeting the agricultural dynamics, means what is the impact of climate change on that? So what actually happens? The journey starts from the root causes, the process parameters. So I would like to give 2-3 pointers on this. Process parameters means the land system dynamics will come into the picture, landscape profiling come into the picture, atmospheric profiling will come into the picture, soil dynamics will come into the picture, all stacks. Then merge into one. So what happens? Different domains, different skills has to be merged at one go. So what kind of architectures we may have to tackle this one? So I would like to share one thing, means the entire respected AI fraternity is here. We started the journey with the conventional ML, then the deep tech, and then right now we're talking about strong AI architecture. Why? To tackle this one only. Because if we have to have a solution on this, so entire ecological dynamics should be put on one scale seamlessly. Now this requires the understanding of local complexities, the thresholding, the trigger parameters from different domains. So it means we have, if I have to say, it means not hypothetically, it's a kind of a Bayesian architecture. It goes in that direction. We cannot have a black box kind of understanding. And then we understand that my data is also authentic or not, or it's triggering or not. But it's right for that analysis. So here actually AI, not just AI, I'll make it very specific. Strong AI architectures will have a very, very strong role to play, and actually have been playing, sir.
So Hemant, to answer, I think climate change is for real. It's knocking our doors. There's no two way about it. But I think the first department which needs, or the first industry which needs AI in the country, especially for agriculture, is the media. If 5 million tons for 1 degree would have damage, India would not be in a position to allow export. They have huge stocks with us right now. Our warehouses are full. Government, I think, sir, can comment. So the department which needs data right now, AI data, is the media, because they blow things out of proposition most of the time, and especially when it's related to farmers. It's a very sensitive, and this negativity sells much faster than a wildfire in a forest. So the data, so it's for real. We have to be prepared for climate smart agriculture. There's no two way about it, but not at the cost of spending our entire energy towards it. See, we as agriculture, what is happening, we are taking too many priorities in one go, which makes the execution difficult. We'll have to pick up 2-3 things on a 5 to 7 year horizon and do it. But what happens if we pick up something, too many things, that's where things are taking time.
Thanks. No, that's a good message for the media to be more realistic and data driven. Thank you. Thanks, Anand. Maulik, last question to you. So clearly you talked about data infrastructure. Now when it comes to agriculture, there's a hardware part. So we are using a lot of remote sensing. Simon talked about use of drones. There are weather stations under WINDS project. There are about 2 lakh weather stations which are going to be installed. There's IoT being used, there's sensors being used. So how do you see hardware play coming in? That's one sort of source of data. And of course the data that you need to store to run these interesting AI algorithms that most of us don't understand. But yeah, you need a lot of infrastructure for that, right? All I know is that it consumes a lot of energy, right?
I think one you talked was more from the data acquisition point of view. I think which is more operational need, operational technology. Classically, we call that in industry, which is an essential item, but that too can be worked in a very frugal way. Coming to the point that we heard about LLM and small models as well. See, what we need here, the best models here are not the biggest models. Okay, the best models here would be the deepest models, more context-aware models, right? So thinking from that point of view, then you come to an understanding in terms of what infrastructure would you then require, right? It would require edge computing. Possibly you will need to run these models on your phones, smartphones, right? You will need to run on your local CPUs more than just GPUs, right? So architecting it, designing it is something which is very essential to it, and how we kind of break this into what is really required to even deploy, right? And again, coming to the point that we talked earlier, but how do you really do it? The point is, edge computing is out there, cloud computing is out there, right? But we have to figure out a solution somewhere in middle, in between, such that it is available as an infrastructure to people at large, right? Which again comes to the point of digital public infrastructure, And digital public infrastructure, by that we mean it is governed, it is democratized, accessibility is out there, right? Bringing out the cost down. And therefore you have more innovations around it, you have more API economy around it, right? What we are seeing is in API economy, right? Even within UPI, what we are seeing is API economy. So I think it kind of helps to kind of scale as well. It brings the cost down as well. So I would not worry much about, honestly speaking, again, on the compute power, for example. It can be something which can be designed for your simple CPUs and some edge computing as well, and to an extent GPUs as well, but not that heavy. If we are talking about small focus models here, which is very important and essential. Thank you.
Thanks. No, that's a very practical suggestion. Sanjay ji, any closing remarks from you? I think there's a lot of excitement in the private sector about the public stacks, AgriStack and Bharat Vistar, which got launched. Just educate us. When do we use it? How do we use it?
Now, I think when we talk about Bharat Vistar, we want to extend it throughout the country. Vistar means to extend it as far as possible to all the stakeholders. It is not only farmers, but various stakeholders are involved in this process. And ultimately, through Bharat Vistar and through various other AI technologies which we are using, we are also going to save the taxpayers' money also. I would like to give one or two examples like procurement. We are going to save huge money to save some fake procurement which is being done in the name of farmers. Similarly, fertilizer subsidy. That is a huge challenge before us, that our subsidy burden is increasing day by day. Now through all AI help, through soil testing reports, now farmers are using fertilizer. They don't know the problems, but they use fertilizers. So through AI, there are so many things which we are planning to do. And that digital public infrastructure, that agri course, is coming in a huge way. The data is not a problem. We have a huge database. We have a low, but now time has come that with the help of AI, we are able to use that huge database that was lying with us. And now we are capitalizing that database and making it useful for a larger benefit of our country. I think all together we can do wonders, and agriculture, farmers need it, all the stakeholders need it, and ultimately our country will benefit through all these efforts, and hunger will not be a problem for our country, that I can assure everyone here. Thank you very much.
No, thanks for that positive note. Can we take some question, Hemant? I know we have gone beyond time. 2 or 3 questions. So yeah, let's get the questions first, and please be brief and as much as you can. Yeah.
Sanjay, I will just request to understand, when you are inviting Paytm of API in UFI, Paytm is positioned now for UFI. When you are inviting them, in UPI produces Paytm like product. In UFI, when you are going to release that, Unified Farmer
ID, I think if you can say, we have already working on Farmer ID, that is Unified Farmer ID. More than 10 crore farmers are already listed, and they got unique Farmer ID. And it is going to cover all the farmers in next 1 year. And by the time, every farmer will have a definite unique ID with them, and with that ID, they can take credit, they can go for bank loan, will take fertilizer, they can take any advantage from seed to market, and everything will be connected with that farmer ID. And that is already in there. In last 1 year, more than 8 crore farmers have been added to that. And this silent revolution, like Aadhaar, today we all are having Aadhaar ID. I think in coming time, within a year or so, every farmer will have a different comprehensive ID that will be connected with his land records also. And ultimately, it will work as Aadhaar for all the farmers, and it will be linked with all the schemes, all the benefits, all the land records with that ID.
My question is to Simon. You mentioned very rightly that the decision regarding the pesticide spray can be taken away from the farmers. Can the entire decision taking in case of agriculture or horticulture be left to the AI in a given circumstance? And from, say, resource to root, from supply to demand, and the farmer is merely a stakeholder as owner of the land that he has got, and also his involvement is very minimum. You know, we have a system called Batai. Batai in the sense the farmer is absent farmer and it's given to somebody else. In this case, the AI happens to be the one which takes a decision. And can you think about doing this kind of experiment in case of one particular FPO and see how the results come out? Because you know the problems. He has given a complete summarization of the problem. You have the solution. He knows about the data as such. But then,
Sure.
at least we can put it together.
I understand where you come from, and I mean, there is a question of infrastructure, and that starts with mechanization. Do we have AI-ready mechanization in the country, right? So simple answer in the long run, yes. And when I was many years back in Bangkok, I was saying exactly because you saw this. Farmers would own their land. They would be off-site online farmers, right? They would use WhatsApp and whatever and tell their laborers to do what to do, right? Now, obviously, we've come a long way. And yes, in theory, you should be coming to a point where AI can do most intervention for the farmer, but the farmer will still take a choice. He will say, I'm an organic farmer, I want to have high yields, I want to, whatever, preserve my land this year, right? So I don't think it's going to be 100%, but the decision points will be much more, as you say, contextual, and might be limited because, yes, a government might at one point say, I don't want people to decide on fertilization themselves if AI can do it better, because maybe the simple solution, I don't want to pay so much subsidy. The better solution, obviously, because I want to have ecological services come in, right? And ultimately, that's where you want to come. You want to have an incentive system where the farmer that takes the best ecological decisions actually earns most.
Thank you. I think one last question, yeah, doesn't matter.
It's a very interesting panel. I come from the AI side, so my question is purely towards the food processing and the food waste. This is something that I'm doing a project in Northeast, and I find that the amount of food wastage that is happening, which is post-harvest, it's not at the consumer level, it's the food waste because of lack of market access. At the same time, there are a lot of food processing possibilities which are there, but that doesn't get really accomplished. Now, there are two different ministries really handling it, so it doesn't become a viable proposition. Every effort that is really happening is to really address to the farmer, but then food processing becomes a different industry altogether. So why can't we really look at what kind of systems we can develop to really look at the food wastage and try to see how we could reposition the extra food that is not getting marketed through a food processing mechanism. Now that's the research that I've done, and I have practical this thing which is there. We have also identified certain certain vegetables and fruits which can be really brought into that area. This is through a proper data analysis. Now these are things that we really don't know who should be addressing it, and that's something that is a question for you. Plus, where do we really get that food wastage data? Right now, there is no data available. So there has to be a conscious mechanism to really look at the kind of food wastage which is happening. Most of the time, the farmer is not able to really accomplish what he can just because of the wastage in terms of all kinds of problems that one has in terms of transportation, in terms of market access, in terms of perishability, and so on and so forth.
I think when we talk about seed to market, the concept is that there should not be food wastage. Rather, farmer should get the right price for his food. Because there is no wastage, but they are not getting the right price for the product. So now in current two policies, the recent two policies of Pulses Mission and Oilseed Mission, we have kept this into mind. And we have added food processing mills, that pulses processing mills and oil processing mills are also included to be set up in that particular area where this is grown. More than 1,000 pulses mills, at the same time more than 1,000 oilseed mills, oil processing mills are being set up under these missions so that this wastage or this forced selling can be reduced. And as far as other marketing concerns are there, because perishable goods are there, many agriculture products are perishable. So there some such problems comes many times. So now the FPOs, farmer producer organization, they are playing very good role to address this problem. They are providing a bridge between farmers and market. And I think in coming time, as they are going to be more strong, things will be better. And through this only, we can reduce this gap of wastage.
So my question was in
I
context
think
with
we have
Northeast.
need to
Northeast
close.
has a typical problem of this because of many other variations. Is there some specific effort that can be done to really have a AI mission on that, where we can actually address, because I am volunteering to really work on that.
Yeah.
That's
So
something that
please,
we're very
please share your
interested to-
data and your findings with us.
Sure.
And our government, there is a 10% funding is reserved for Northeast. As most of the development schemes, welfare schemes, we have a separate dedicated funds for Northeast.
Okay.
And if you have data and some findings, certainly it will help us. Please share with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you. I think one good thing about the last session is that we can extend it, and we have taken the liberty of extending it by like 30 minutes. But yeah, thanks to all the panelists for some wonderful insights, and to all the audience. I think it's been for all your curiosity and your patience. And thanks to my FICCI colleagues who have worked hard to make this session work. Thank you.
That would be